able to ask your service dog to go find a family member and bring help can literally be life-saving. And it's actually a pretty simple task with 3 basic steps that I'm going to outline in today's video. I really love the go get help task because it's very versatile. Not all dogs are going to be suitable for working in public access as a service dog, but they can still learn this incredibly important task to be employed at home. And your dog only needs one prerequisite skill to train this task. As long as your dog can recall or come to you on cue and to the person they're going to go get help from, you're ready to start training. So for those of you that are new here, hi, I'm Laura from Doggy U, and I'm a certified guide dog mobility instructor, service dog trainer, and trick trainer. And today I'm going to show you how to teach your dog to go get help on cue. So there's 3 basic steps to accomplish this task before you start generalizing and adding distance. Step 1 is to develop the pattern. So the handler will say their dog's name and go get help. The helper will ask the dog to come, then the dog will go to the helper. The helper will feed the dog, and then the helper will say, "What is it?" and raise their hands in a questioning type manner, and that will be your physical cue. Then the handler will say, "Whip, come," or the dog's name and come, and the handler will feed the dog. Hey folks, just breaking in here to tell you briefly about the footage you're about to see. So the first part is going to be very old footage from about 6 years ago when I am just learning how to teach this. I'm just teaching Cool Whip so you can see a brand new dog learning it, and I'm also teaching my sister at the same time. So it's a little bit messy, but it's always good to see what it looks like when it's not like perfectly polished. And then I'm also gonna show you some footage of me practicing this outside with my husband. Now, note that you will want to practice this inside. I just don't personally have a house that's big enough to tape this in right now. I am working on finishing my basement, so I'll have a really nice area to show you this type of footage in the future. But for now, I'm showing you outside and you're going to practice it inside. All right, let's see the footage.
So I'm going to say, "Whip, go get help." You can say, "Whip, come." Whip, come. Good. And then you're going to say, "What is it?" And you're gonna
What is it?
And then I'm going to say, "Whip, come." Good. Whip, go get help.
Whip, come. What is it?
Whip, come. Good girl. Go get help.
Whip, come. Good girl. What is it?
Whip, come. Yes. Good job. Very.
In step 2, the helper will follow the dog back, and the food will only be delivered by the handler. So the handler will say, "Dog's name, go get help." The helper will say, "Dog, come." The dog will go to the helper. The helper will say, "What is it?" and raise their hands in a questioning manner, the physical cue. Then the handler will say, "Whip, come," or the dog's name and come. And then the helper will follow the dog back to the handler, and the handler will feed the dog.
Whip, go get help.
Whip, come. What is it?
Whip, come. Yes. Good job. Good girl. There. Whip, go get help.
Whip, come. What is it?
Whip, come. Good job. Good girl. Good job. Very nice.
And before we move on to step 3, I'd love it if you could head on down and boop that like button. Doing so lets me know you want more of these videos, and it also brings more people to the channel, which means that I can provide more free and low-cost resources. It's seriously the easiest thing that you can do to show me that you're getting value from these videos. So thank you for smashing that like button. All right, let's head on to step 3. Step 3 is where we stop calling the dog. We can split this down into part A and part B if we need to split the steps further for your dog, but most dogs will understand the pattern at this point and move quickly from the helper not calling them to the helper and the handler not calling them to come. So part A goes, the handler says, "Whip, go get help." The dog goes to the helper says, "What is it?" and raises their hands. The handler says, "Whip, come," and the helper follows the dog back to the handler, and the handler feeds. Then when we eliminate the recall cue from both the handler and the helper, it goes, handler says, "Whip, go get help." Dog goes to the helper says, "What is it?" and raises their hands. The helper follows the dog back to the handler, and the handler feeds the dog. Make sure that while you're practicing step 3 that you periodically have the helper reinforce with food so that the going away from the handler behavior stays strong.
Whip, go get help.
What is it?
Good. Very nice. Good job. Nice job, Curly. Whip, go get help.
What is it?
Yes. Good job. Good job. Good girl. Nice work.
Step 4, increase distance. Now that you've got the basic task down, it's time to increase distance. Begin increasing the distance the dog must travel, but still remains in sight of both participants. Continue with step 3 until the dog is able to do the skill across whatever your largest span of house or yard is, with the dog remaining in sight of both people. Step 5, generalize handler position. Up until now, we've been practicing this exercise in a stand, but in real life, it's likely that you could be in any position, including sitting or laying down on your back or on your stomach. You could be on the couch, in a chair, or in a bed. So now we're going to practice those body position scenarios still within the sight of the helper. We'll work on out-of-sight scenarios in the next step. Because we've changed a major variable for your dog, your body position, we'll start back at step 1 and build back up through steps 2 and 3. Remember when working through steps 2 and 3 to pepper in some reps where the helper still feeds the dog occasionally to keep up the motivation to go away from you and to the helper.
Whip, go get help.
Whip, come. Good girl. What is it?
Whip, come. Yes, good. Very good girl. Whip, go get help.
What is it?
Yes, good girl. Very good girl. Awesome.
Step 6, out of sight. Start back at step 1, but now we're going to have the helper go just out of sight around the corner. Work through the 3 steps, starting back at step 1, and then practice in other close but out of sight locations. As your dog becomes successful with the helper just slightly out of visual range, begin increasing how far out of sight the helper is from the handler.
Whip, go get help. Good reward.
What is it?
Good. Excellent. Yes, good job.
Step 7, proofing and generalizing. Now that your dog has a successful go get help behavior, it's time to proof and generalize. This is the hard part that people sometimes forget to do. But remember that your task is only as good as those scenarios that you've proofed it in. You'll want to generalize to different rooms of the house for both handler and helper. You'll also want to generalize locations, like if you might use it at a friend or family member's house. You'll also want to practice with different people. So if sometimes your spouse is home, but sometimes another family member might be home, you'll want to go practice steps 1 through 7 with each of the people who might use this task. Finally, you'll want to practice around different distractions and scenarios. What are the most likely scenarios that you might need to use this task in? Make sure you're practicing those. Go get help when I. Now, some people will want their dog to automatically go get help if they fall, become non-responsive, or start doing some type of repetitive or self-injurious behavior like head hitting or other self-harm behaviors. Go get help is actually one of 2 safe tasks that can be taught to your dog if you need them to interrupt a behavior that could potentially harm the dog. Training your dog to automatically go get help in the event of a fall or something similar is a little bit more complicated, but it can definitely be trained. What you're looking to do here is called a cue transfer. Basically, we want to retrain the dog that the cue for going to get help is now you falling, becoming unresponsive, or some other behavior that isn't you verbally cueing it. To do that, I still want you to train all the way from step 1 to 7, and then we'll do the cue transfer. The cue transfer goes like this. New cue, old cue, dog does the behavior, dog gets marked and reinforced. So in this scenario, it goes person falls on the floor, person verbally cues go get help, dog does the behavior, the dog gets marked and reinforced. Once you've practiced this pattern, fall on the floor and wait a few seconds. If your dog automatically goes to get help, congrats, the cue is transferred. If your dog doesn't quite have it yet, go back and practice some more. An important note here is that if falling or something else that might startle your dog is the new cue for the behavior, be sure not to scare your dog at first. You'll want to start with a less dramatic version of the cue or the behavior that you're going to do and build up to what it looks like in real life to be sure that your dog is having a good time and not scared by the training. Now, if you're loving this video and would love a PDF version of all of the different steps that you can print out and have with you while you're training your dog, you can head on over to patreon.com/doggyu to join a community of like-minded owner trainers for just $3 and download that PDF right now. With your membership, you'll also get access to more than 150 other Patreon exclusive videos. You'll also be supporting the work that I do here. I literally couldn't do this without the financial support from the DoggieU community members. So thank you for being a part of making these free and low-cost resources available to those who need it. Well, that's it everyone. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you want to see more videos on how to train your service dog, you're gonna want to start with this playlist right here. It's gonna go over everything from how to train deep pressure therapy to tips on medication retrieves to more practical stuff like what type of gear I like my service dog to wear and how to make your dog a real service dog. This playlist has it all, so click on it now to get started. You all have an awesome day and happy training.